Erik Halterman of RotoWire here with another trade tips video for you. This week I've got 4-star hitters who I would be willing to trade away. Now I'd have to get quite a lot to deal any of these guys, but I think you can get a lot for them right about now, starting with Cal Raleigh. And yes, you would have to get quite a lot to deal Cal Raleigh right now, but if you're, say, in need of pitching help in a one-catcher league where the available catchers on the wire are still pretty good, this could be your chance to cash in on Raleigh's absurd first half and move him for even an ace. He's having an unbelievable season so far. He's hitting .278 while leading the league in homers with 32, 4 more than Aaron Judge. He's emerged as a legitimate MVP candidate, but I'd use the recent buzz around him having a chance to win that award to try to flip him for a huge return in the next week or two. As fun as it would be to watch him duplicate these numbers in the second half, there are reasons to expect quite a big fall off. First is the general wear and tear that comes with starting so many games behind the plate, which is a bigger factor than it is at any other position. Second is Raleigh's big overachievement in batting average. He's beating his XBA by 22 points. He's beating his career average through the end of last season by 59 points. Raleigh is making more contact this year, but his strikeout rate is only down 3.5 points. That doesn't support this kind of jump in batting average. The next reason to expect a worse second half for Raleigh is his very tough home park in Seattle, which is still the toughest park to hit in the league. Maybe it's just too much fun imagining riding his incredible season to a fantasy championship, so I understand holding on to Cal Raleigh, but if you're open to trading him, the window is now. Up next, I would be willing to deal Rafael Devers, and that's mostly because of his move to the Giants, which obviously the rest of your league knows about and will offer you less, or at least should offer you less than they would have a couple weeks ago, although I should say people don't often account for park factors quite enough. Devers moved from the second best hitters park in Boston to the second worst hitters park in San Francisco. The only thing worse would be moving from Colorado to Seattle, so this is about as bad as it gets for his future fantasy value, and Devers is going to be stuck in San Francisco for the next 8.5 years. So for those of you in dynasty leagues, that's going to add up to a lot of lost value over time. The real reason I'd be dealing Devers now, though, is his declining contact ability. His strikeout rate jumped from 19% in 2023 to 24.5% last year, settling in at 23% this year. And that's not a bad mark, certainly, but it's no longer the strength that it once was for Devers. Dig a little deeper, though, and the problem looks much more worrisome. If we look at Devers' contact rate on pitches he swung at in the strike zone, it was 80% over the first 6 years of his career, which was already actually below average. That fell to 76% last year, and he's got a 73% in-zone contact rate this season. The only qualified hitter to have a lower mark over a full season in the last decade is Joey Gallo, who did it 3 times. Now, Devers does have the power and the plate discipline to make up for this pretty significant flaw. Possible you don't get enough to make dealing him worth it in single-season leagues, but especially, again, in those dynasty formats, I'm very worried about his future if he's missing this many pitches in the zone. That's going to lead to problems in his surface stats sooner rather than later. I've got 2 more names for you in a moment, but first I wanted to remind you about RotoWire's new promo codes. Use promo code YouTube15 at checkout for 15% off a RotoWire subscription. Not a bad time to sign up right now with fantasy football draft season right around the corner, or perhaps underway for some of you. Back to the baseball, we've got Byron Buxton, who is overperforming his expected stats by quite a lot, which is one reason why you might want to deal him. He's overachieving his XBA, his expected batting average, by 25 points, and his expected slug by 46 points. It's hard to see him continuing to hit around 280 like he's doing now, while he's striking out 27% of the time, and he's always had strikeout problems, 29% for his career, so that's unlikely to go away. Now, Buxton has been incredible so far this year. He's looking like a fringe first-round value through the first half of the season. Some of that's due to good luck in his batting average, but it's also due to his 1,700 homers and 13 steals. But unfortunately, 3 months of good health aren't nearly enough for Buxton to shed his injury-prone label, and he deserves that label as much as anyone in the league. His 102 games last year and 388 plate appearances, those are both his best marks since 2017. Over the last 7 seasons, he's averaged just 71 games and 271 plate appearances. If you're holding on to Buxton in the second half, you're holding on to the risk that his value drops from being, a fringe first rounder all the way to absolute zero. And that could happen without warning. Now, if you're in the middle of the pack in the standings, I would actually hold on to Buxton because you need to be thinking optimistically and you need some things to break your way in the second half to get back into it. Buxton staying healthy would count as one of those things breaking your way. But if you're already sitting in a comfortable position, you want to be trading out of that sort of risk and acquiring some more high floor players. So I'd be looking to move Buxton at the peak of his value for someone who might not have the same ceiling but has a much higher floor. And finally, I would be willing to trade away Jacob Wilson. And hey, what a rookie season he's having. Great job drafting him in the last round or two of your draft, or maybe picking him up on waivers in the first couple weeks of the season. Wilson is hitting an incredible 347, and it's not a completely empty batting average like we thought it might be. He's got 9 homers and 5 steals, but Wilson is overperforming his expected stats by quite a lot. He's tied for the second biggest gap between his actual and expected batting average, that's 44 points. Also has the second biggest gap between his actual and expected slugging, 97 points there. If you look at his WOBA versus ex-WOBA, that looks at a player's overall offense, he has easily the largest gap in the league, 58 points. The next closest is TJ Friedel at 45 points. So I think we could call Jacob Wilson so far the luckiest player in the league. Now, by putting the ball in play so often, he's striking out just 7% of the time. He does create many opportunities to get lucky, but those are also opportunities to get unlucky, and there's no guarantee the luck holds in the second half. The other reason to deal Wilson is his lopsided production might not actually help you. There's a pretty good chance you're leading your league in batting average by quite a bit if you have Wilson, since presumably you already built a pretty well-balanced roster, and then suddenly you got an elite batting average out of nowhere from a guy you probably picked up for free. In roto leagues, whether that's a weekly head-to-head categories or your standard season-long roto, there's no bonus points for winning a category by a lot versus just winning it, period. And if that describes your situation, I would try to move Wilson because you're going to waste his best quality in the second half. He's going to give you batting average you don't need, and he's not going to give you a whole lot in other areas, even if it is more than the 0 that we expected. I'd also try to move him soon because you don't want a potential run of bad BABIP luck taking a big bite out of his trade value. You're going to get more for Jacob Wilson if you move him while he's hitting close to 350 than if you move him when he's hitting, say, 303, which could easily happen within a couple weeks. That's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments, though, if you've managed to swing a deal involving any of these guys, maybe acquiring some pretty impressive pitchers in return. And remember, use the code YouTube15 for 15% off a RotoWire subscription.